Okay, so this time we will plan CI/CD, and this talk will be a little bit different. So we will not talk about the tools. If I mention anything like Jenkins, Azure DevOps, code pipeline, whatever, it will be or by mistake or to show some example, nothing else, right? So my name is Paweł Piwosz. I've been working for EPAM system for 3.5 years right now. 25 years on the market, so I saw too many things which I don't want to see again. I'm DevOps Institute ambassador, AWS community builder, and CD Foundation ambassador, so I'm pretty busy, I think. All right, so how do you do CI/CD? So you join the team, you join the project, you join the company. The first task for you is, this is the code, build me CI/CD. What you will do? Anyone? What? Okay, what you will consider? So, that's a good one. Yeah. So generally, what I've learned during my years of looking on it, we've got the code. We've got some environments like dev, QA, prod, whatever. We know some tools, and that's it. And we build our pipeline. How many of you use this way? Okay, don't be shy. We can say that like almost of us, right? Almost all of us. So we consider a couple of elements. Generally, we consider environments, we consider tools, which we know. Sometimes we are smart enough, and this leads us to be a senior. We consider tests. All right. Sometimes even releases. Some of you, those on leads position, will talk about branching. And those of you who are just like floating 5 centimeters above the floor will think about reverts. Right? And what can go wrong? Exactly. So today we will take another journey. We will look on CI/CD on the whole from a little bit different perspective, right? Not from the engineer perspective. Honestly speaking, I hate when I hear that I am DevOps engineer, but from the organization perspective. And yes, this means more if the organization is a little bit bigger, right? I'm from the organization with 60,000 people. So, you know, processes are important, right? Not from the perspective of pipeline itself, but from the process, right? This is a little bit different. And first thing which I want to touch here is the organization. Why? You can say, what is the point of it, right? We've got some QAs, we've got some testers, we've got some, I don't know, developers, DevOps, managers, whatever. What sense is to talk about organization because of this? Who knows Conway's law? 2. Great. At least, more than 2. Perfect. So, simply speaking, Conway's law says that the design of your system is mirror of your communication pattern in the company. So, simply speaking, if your team doesn't speak with other team, it means more or less that your component will not talk to their component, or they will talk a little bit with different languages, right? And here we're touching the topic which is quite nice and quite of hype now, especially when we talk about this kind of platform engineering, right? Who heard the new buzzword, platform engineering? Right, perfect. We've got team topologies. I really recommend this book by 2 guys, Matthew Skelton and Manuel Pai. So generally, how we structure our teams, our collaboration between the teams, what is delivered by whom to whom and how, and maybe always also why. It's quite important question, right? Why? It's very important. So, if your platform team delivers CI/CD to Streamline team, it will be a little bit different than Streamline team is responsible solely for their own CI/CD, right? All right, so we discussed organization. And in this framework, I call this boldly framework because I invited it, so I have the right to name it, right? I've got a couple of more aspects to take care. So branching strategy, delivery strategy, artifacts management, SDLC, quality gates, capabilities, constraints. Enough? No. Responsibilities, releases, rollbacks, KPIs, DevOps, monitoring, measurements, those are different. Environments, which we have, value streams, tools, and on purpose security on the end. I always love when everyone take this, you told about security on the end. Yes, I did it on purpose. All right, so let's go one by one. Environments. Why those are important? Because sometimes we have different structures. We have different ownership, right? And if your development team owns fully dev environment, but have only some limited access to production, that means what? So sometimes what works on your environment on dev, not necessarily will work on production. And there will be surprise, right? Branching strategy, quite important element because based on branching strategy, we build next steps, right? And when you take delivery strategy, it has relation to branching strategy. If you want or not, but it has, right? So what kind of delivery branching strategies we have? Trunk, Git flow, right? GitHub flow. So we can have strategy by stories, by task, by epics. Yes, I love Jira. Or even by environments. This is crazy. I don't know if you are familiar with branching strategy by environment, but imagine Git flow multiplied by number of your environments. You can shoot yourself, really. But this is not all. What is the code structure, right? How you design, for example, for your microservices or serverless. Do you have monorepo or multiple repositories, right? How you structure and how you keep your infrastructure as code with this repository or somewhere else, right? What kind of integrations you have? Do you use feature toggles? What kind of testing strategy? But here I'm saying more about test-driven development, behavior-driven development, right? Not the testing like we understand, like you need blah, 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 right? Access management. Who has access there? And what kind of access? Do you have protected branches or not, right? So having protected branch in trunk development, someone tried that? Did it work? Right, but this is a valid question, right? Because in trunk development, the main branch is generally only one branch which exists, right? Then we have delivery strategy. So we started on the beginning with branching, and then we have the end-side delivery, right? So what triggers CI? How it is structured? What kind of quality gates you have? What kind of communication patterns you have there? What kind of escalations? Yes, I know we all love escalations, right? But this is something what may happen, especially if you have like 10,000 pipelines, right? Continuous delivery and continuous deployment. What is the difference? I love this question, especially on technical interviews. Almost. Generally, the difference is very simple. Continuous deployment is the continuous delivery, but without manual intervention. So generally, continuous delivery has some stop in the middle of the process. This is decided, right, when it is. And this is like someone need to click the button, go. Right? And continuous deployment is from the beginning to the end automated. Simple change, right? But really affects a lot what is inside your pipeline. Because there is no one who can stop it in this case, right? So again, what kind of acknowledgements you have? Who is responsible for this click, right? What you will do if, in fact, continuous deployment will fail, for example, right? So those kind of valid questions here. And again, what you do with the environments, what you do between the environments or between the stages, right? What are your quality gates? And finally, what is your deployment strategy? Blue-green, blue-violet, right? Well, there are multiple colors for this violet, right? But I don't care because I have tendency to be colorblind, so who cares? Then we have AB, canary, right? Or even rolling, or even recreate the whole environment. And now imagine the situation that one team for your platform is doing blue-green, second is doing rolling, and third is doing recreating. Again, what can go wrong, right? And of course, you are not allowed to have downtime, right? So with recreation, it's possible to have downtime. It's like almost 100% sure, right? Then we have artifact management, and why it is important? Because this is the connection point, the bridge between CI and CD, right? CI ends when we create artifact and store it, and CD starts when we take this artifact and we do something with it. So, what kind of tools we use for store our artifacts? You may say, but why this is important, right? All right, example, 3 teams. One is using Azure DevOps and store artifacts there. Second stores artifact in S3, and third bought the license for Artifactory. Simply speaking, from the business perspective, this is a waste of time. From security perspective, this is a nightmare because you have 3 tools to control, right? I had to check how many fingers I have. What is the naming convention for your artifacts? What is the structure of your artifacts? Again, you can think why this is important. Let me tell you an example. You work for the industry where you need to maintain your things for 20 years. Are the industry like that? Yes, of course, right? Example, gas and oil, space programs, right? Will you choose something what is brand new, shiny, sparkly thing, which not necessarily will live next 2 years? Probably not, right? So this is also important element. How this artifact storage is integrated with your CI/CD, and I define here into 2 types, like loosely and highly integrated. So loosely integrated can be, for example, S3, right? Every kind of CI/CD can use S3. This is like a separate thing. Highly integrated, it can be artifact inside Azure DevOps, right? So this is designed for this specific use case. SDLC, right? Now things are going interesting. So how we build our projects. Do we use agiles? Do we use waterfalls? Doesn't matter really. But what matters is SDLC part also of the CI/CD lifetime, right? Is CI/CD treated like an internal product, right? You have a platform team which delivers CI/CD as a platform and tools to development teams. development teams become customers of this team, right? Quality gates. This is also interesting. What kind of quality gates you have? If you have manual quality gate, it means that you will never have continuous deployment, right? How you deal with notifications? What kind of tests you are doing in the gates? What kind of metrics you collect? Do you collect the metrics? That's the question, right? How much you can allow the system to be delayed? Because it's nice to have like an end-to-end test of the big platform which will take like 7 hours. I've done it multiple times as well. But then I cannot say that I am able to deliver multiple times per day, because I'm not, right? What kind of responsibilities and who has the responsibilities in the quality gates? And then capabilities, and here we go into very nice soft topics. So what is the team composition? What is the team maturity, right? The knowledge, skill set of the team topologies, how the collaboration works. People constraints are also here, right? Why this is important? Because if you have team people who build Jenkins, it's not very smart to push them to use Azure DevOps, right? Probably, if you want to have outcome tomorrow, right? Then we have constraints. And this is interesting topic because here a constraint can be a business type. So for example, in many banks still, will you choose Azure DevOps as a CI/CD tool when everything needs to be on-prem? Yes or no? But why? You can have agent on-prem, right? What the problem is? Well, where is the problem? Because still, the management of this all stuff is in the cloud, right? And cloud can be a constraint here. Also, connectivity boundaries. I've been there. Right? So you've got like a account for CI/CD, which, simply speaking, cannot be connected to your environments. Because not. That was the answer, right? And what you will do? People are also constraints. The skill set, the cooperation, the knowledge, reaction to any kind of activities, the team dynamic, right? This is also important. Time. If you need to deliver very often, because this is the way how you want to do the business, right? It means that you cannot have this end-to-end test, which I mentioned, 7 hours long. What kind of technical constraints you also have, right? Because, for example, you have already bought and installed on-prem Bitbucket Enterprise, right? Or Bitbucket, right? You've got on-prem Bitbucket. And your new manager said, I love AWS so much, you need to use code pipeline. It is possible? Yes, it is. It is smart? No, it isn't. Because you need to have so much wiring around, because there is no direct integration, that maybe it's not worth to do that. Because there is much more problem points than you would like to have in your life, right? Right, next, responsibilities, right? People, processes. Who is responsible for what? How the escalation looks like? Who is notified? When? Policies, etc., etc. This is also important. And believe me, it's maybe not that important if you have one pipeline, if you have 10 pipelines, if you have 100 pipelines. But if you have 10,000 pipelines, it becomes important. And it's not that hard in big project to have so many pipelines, right? Releases. This is also an interesting process, because imagine one team is doing release once per month, and second is doing release like twice per day, per hour, right? What can go wrong? Again, the communication between those two teams probably is not working very well, right? And the team which wants to deliver faster is really delayed by the second team if those two components are working very tightly together, right? Rollbacks. What kind of type of rollbacks you know? There are two general type of rollbacks. And this will be funny because you can roll back and forward. Roll back forward. Roll back forward. Right? But this is possible. So imagine now the situation. Again, you have two teams. One is doing rollback back, right, to the previous commits or whatever, and the second one is fixing things and doing this kind of rollback forward. What can go wrong? Again, right? They are coming back to the previous state, and the other ones try to keep the new state, right? Also, RPO, this is also an important thing. So restore time objective and restore point objective, right? Those are also important. How you deal with data loss, with databases, right? Because this is a very nice topic, how we do rollbacks for databases. And no one knows. What kind of granularity we have? So do we roll back only part, the one component, one service, or the whole platform? This needs to be also established on some level, right? What kind of KPIs we have, especially when we are this kind of platform team which delivers product to product called CI/CD to other development teams. And we had a talk before, what is service level agreement, objective, and indicator, so I will not come back to that. But generally here we have these three things, SLI, SLO, and SLAs, right? And the most interesting thing, DevOps. What is the composition of DevOps? Because still, we have DevOps on market, how long? 13 years? Something like that, right? And still every single company has its own definition. Even if you look on the biggest players like HashiCorp, AWS, Azure, Atlassian, they have definition what is DevOps. Every single is different, right? So, what is the definition of DevOps in your team? This is like a DevOps engineer inside the team, or maybe DevOps team, or maybe SRE team, or platform team, I love it, right? Or maybe there is no DevOps, right? So we have no DevOps, no code, no ops, no business, no problem, right? What kind of automation we have? And how we deal with this automation. So for example, do we have like a support team, platform team, which delivers part of the automation to the development team, and they tell, here is your package, use it, right? This will do the magic for you, right? How you deal with infrastructure as code, right? Are your pipelines done as an infrastructure as code as well? This is also important. How the cooperation looks and feedback loops, right? This is something what DevOps need to touch, feedback loops, and how short they are and how effective they are. How you measure your DevOps. And here I'm not saying about, you know, things like CPU usage. This is not measurement, right? This is monitoring. About measurements, there will be 2 slides from here, I think. So monitoring, right? Metrics, tools, responsibilities, what kind of events you have, what kind of actions, alerts, logs, etc., 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 etc. Because it's quite important what you will do when pipeline fail. Will you notify someone or not? Example, last time I implemented very simple thing, notification from Azure DevOps to MS Teams. And you know how the team reacted? Wow. Right? Simple thing. So what is the difference in terms of measurements from the monitoring? Monitoring means that you observe the system, right? Measurement means that you take some data to improve the system. The system as a process, let's say. And here we have DORA metrics. Who is familiar with DORA metrics? All right, perfect. So we've got 4 metrics in DORA, right? In 2, let's say, sections. One is throughput, and here we have deployment frequency and lead time cycle. And second is stability, time to recover, and failure rate, right? Those are 4 basic metrics invented, I think, by Google, right? Value stream. Who is familiar with value stream management or value stream mapping? Great. That's really good to see at least few people who knows what it is, right? So generally, we map the state as is of the process. We select the process, we map it, then we create the map to be, right? We identify, this is the lean tool or lean approach to things. We identify wastes, we identify bottlenecks, right? And believe me, when you do this exercise in your organization, you will immediately see where you waste your resources, when you have the bottlenecks, etc., etc., etc. Very useful, very powerful approach. Finally, tools, right? And here we can say, what we can say about tools, a lot, right? Because it's quite important to understand that what we do with Agile, which we don't like, right? Who likes Agile? Oh, there are some brave people. But we don't like Agile, but we took from it what is nice, self-organizing team. So go away and don't tell me what I need to do and what tool I should use. I will select the tool. And then we have organization with 100 teams and 150 tools, from which 50 is like not maintained anymore from last 10 years. 70 has some licenses, quite expensive, right? And then we think, what's going on? Why we are not so rich as we expected to be as a company, right? So what company will do? Will fire people. Right? And finally, security, right? And I always have this fun to put it on the end. This is something what is quite important. You can say, what is the problem with security for CI/CD? Why we talk about this? All right. Do you have password to database in your pipeline in plain text because you need to do some updates? Is this smart? Not necessarily, right? So this is one point. So how you deal with secrets? Who has access to pipelines? Who has access to tools? Who has access to accounts where the pipelines are? Right? And all of this builds something like that, some mind map. And this is where I started really. And I used this a couple of times in real life scenarios when we designed the CI/CD with customers, right? This is version 0.1. I have already version 0.4. I'm still like continuously improving this and work on it. And why this is quite good, especially when we design in the enterprise, on the enterprise level, how we will approach to DevOps, because we talk as architecture, as architects here, right? And all those stuff which I talked to you about are really very, very similar to all non-functional requirements or quality attributes, how we should call it right now, from the architecture perspective. All these ETs, right? Scalability, interoperability, usability, whatever, right? So CI/CD can look a little bit differently from different perspectives. Especially when we look on it from really different distances, right? And why this approach works? Well, because I did it, but no, it's proven in action, really. So I took this on the C-level, where we had people from C-levels to developers, and everyone really was able to understand what we talk about and actively participate in the design process, right? And understand where are the boundaries. This was the most important thing, I think. So we can architect the vision. We can align project stakeholders and business, right? We can identify those bottlenecks, or maybe not bottlenecks, but especially from the cost perspective, the risks for our company. We can build common understanding of what is, and especially what is not possible, right, in our scope. Especially this, what is not possible is the security role, right? And we can unify tech stack, knowledge, and people. And by unify, don't get it wrong. I'm not saying that everyone in the company need to use Jenkins because some CTO loves Jenkins. No. It means that we at least understand what we have inside the company, right? And I tend to think about this like a Rosetta Stone of CI/CD, because this allows you to really to discuss on different levels the same thing with different kind of people, right? And this is kind of translation point, come on, for business, stakeholders, engineers, architects, and also for the security. And they really can sit together in one room and have the discussion, which is not always possible between the people on C-level and the engineers, right? Because they talk with different languages. So if you like it and you want to discuss more, or you don't like it and you want to discuss more, here are my contacts, especially this one on LinkedIn. If you like to receive this mind map, let me know and I will send it to you. Very soon there should be a web page which I am still developing with the description of the framework a little bit more detailed than right now, because I had only like 40 minutes or so. Yeah, questions?